folks. The book of Revelation contains a passage in which St. John sees a great sign in the sky. He writes, "And a great portent appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. She brought forth a male child, one who is to rule all the nations with a rod of iron. But her child was caught up to God and to his throne." Who is this mysterious woman clothed in the sun? You'll note that she gives birth to a male child who is to rule the nations with a rod of iron. That's a reference to the messianic prophecy in Psalm 2, where we read, "Ask of me, and I will make the nations your heritage, and the ends of the earth your possession. You shall break them with a rod of iron." Jesus fulfilled this messianic prophecy. You'll also note that the male child is caught up to the throne of God in heaven. This is a reference to Jesus' ascension into heaven, and so we have another indication that the male child is Jesus. Since the woman gives birth to him, she's his mother, and so you could say, as many have, that this woman must be the mother of Jesus, in other words, the Virgin Mary. But there's more to the story. The symbolism connected with the woman is drawn from the book of Genesis, where the patriarch Joseph has a dream. Then he dreamed another dream and told it to his brothers, and said, "Behold, I have dreamed another dream, and behold, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me." But when he told it to his father and to his brothers, his father rebuked him and said to him, "What is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall I and your mother and your brothers indeed come to bow ourselves to the ground before you?" So the symbolism of the sun, the moon, and the 12 stars comes from Genesis, where it refers to the family of Israel and the 12 patriarchs who headed the 12 tribes of Israel. As a result, some have looked at the passage in Revelation 12 and said that the woman represents the people of Israel. Some have noted that since the church is the spiritual Israel, you could go even farther and say that the woman in Revelation 12 represents the church. So, which view is correct? Is the woman Mary? Is the woman Israel? Or is the woman the church? You could try to solve this problem by making some of the symbolism primary and some of it secondary. For example, you could say that the fact the woman is the mother of the man-child is what's primary, and so she's the Virgin Mary, and the fact that she's connected with the sun, moon, and the 12 stars just means that she's a Jewish woman. That's something secondary. Or you could turn it around. You could say that the symbolism of the sun, moon, and 12 stars is primary, so she's Israel, but the fact that the Virgin Mary was the particular Jewish woman that gave birth to the Messiah is something secondary. We don't have to make this forced choice, though. If you study the way the book of Revelation uses symbolism, you find that it often uses a single symbol to refer to more than one thing. For example, in Revelation 17, we're told what the 7 heads of the beast from the sea represent. This calls for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the whore of Babylon is seated. They are also 7 kings. If the 7 heads of the beast represent 7 mountains and 7 kings, then the woman from Revelation 12 could represent the Virgin Mary and Israel and the church. That's what Pope Benedict suggests. In Volume 2 of his work, Jesus of Nazareth, he writes, "When the book of Revelation speaks of the great sign of a woman appearing in heaven, she is understood to represent all Israel, indeed, the whole church. On the basis of the corporate personality model, in keeping with biblical thought, the early church had no difficulty recognizing in the woman, on the one hand, Mary herself, and on the other hand, transcending time, the church, bride and mother, in which the mystery of Mary spreads out into history." On another occasion, Pope Benedict said, "This woman represents Mary, the mother of the Redeemer. But at the same time, she also represents the whole church, the people of God of all times, the church which in all ages, with great suffering, brings forth Christ ever anew. As Pope Benedict shows us, we don't have to make a forced choice between the different possible meanings of what the woman represents. In keeping with the richness of the way the book of Revelation uses symbolism, she can, in Pope Benedict's words, represent Mary and all Israel and the whole church.